Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We don't have a lot of people with us, but for the people who watch later on, this is Jennifer Eckstrom. She is running for a TUSD Governing Board, and we're very, very appreciative that she took the time to talk to us. So just to start off, Jennifer, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Kurt, for having me today. Let's see, I was born and raised in the city of South Tucson. I attended South Point Catholic High School, and I am a long life resident of the TUSD school district. So I got my start in politics at the age of 18, where I was elected to the South Tucson City Council. I served 18 years there, 5 of them as mayor of the city of South Tucson. I left there to get married and to start my family. And so now I'm back because I want to be back in part of the community. I think running for school board is very important. And I'm a mom, and I think school board issues are important to our community.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So one of the big issues that's come up lately is vouchers, right? So the Arizona legislature greatly expanded vouchers during the most recent legislative session. So I just want to get what's your take on vouchers, and how do you think that the expansion would impact TUSD? What would you do?
I think vouchers and the expansion of that program are really a detriment to the public schools. But data does show that those people using the vouchers already have students that are in private parochial schools. So we're not really sure how that's going to affect TUSD. But I will say, affluent families are using this on the backs of public education. And I just think that's wrong. Not everybody will be able, who want to use the vouchers, will be able to afford the tuition from that. So it's just really, it doesn't make sense to me. But I do think that TUSD can start promoting its schools as a place where families want to be. Each school is unique, and I think that TUSD can really start to promote schools and show families, hey, if this school doesn't work for you, another one will. And I think we have the opportunity to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And another big issue that you'd have to deal with if you were elected is teacher retention. There's just a kind of a shortage, so to speak, nationwide, statewide, everywhere. So what would you do to make sure that TUSD schools have enough teachers?
I think TUSD needs to utilize the pathways to teaching model that University of Arizona has. I don't see us using that as much as other school districts within Pima County. I think the grow your own method is the way to go. We see that teachers are wanting to become, or we do see students, they're wanting to become teachers. So I don't think that there's a shortage of passion or people wanting to become teachers. I think it really boils down to the lack of respect that we have for our teachers. We are fully funding public education through the state. And to be honest with you, teachers need better pay. They need better benefits. And that's something that I'd like to work on. Once we honor and respect teachers, they're going to want to show up. They're going to want to be part of TUSD. And again, I think TUSD has the opportunity to show people throughout the community, hey, these different schools are unique. Where do you fit in? Where can we have you, best teach? I really think we have the opportunity to promote our school district, and I don't see TUS doing that now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and there was one of the moves was to do the third-party hiring. Uh-huh. Is that something that you would support?
I am not in favor of third-party hiring, but I do see why they had to go that route. We don't have long-term subs in a lot of the schools, and especially in the schools where people don't want to teach. But I do think that we need to figure out how we get long-term subs into our schools, because that's what's going to help. They become a part of the community. Students, they know, these teachers, they respect these teachers. What we don't want is a revolving door, like day in and day out, of different teachers coming in to teach, because that's not good for the students either. So I think that we need to utilize our partnerships with, the higher education schools that we have here, Pima, U of A, try to find a way to bring in teachers from there, see if maybe, we can partner with them. We really need to think outside the box now, because we are having these shortages, and you know, hiring online teachers, it's not going to do a service to our students.
Just to clarify, the why you don't approve of the or why you don't support third-party teaching is because it would set up a kind of revolving door. Is that what you mean?
Well, I don't approve of the third higher teaching because I don't feel that having teachers that are out of state, students unable to reach them, to be able to ask questions, online learning is not for everyone. So that's why I don't support it. But I do understand why they went that route because of the revolving door. We don't want, you know, teachers in day in, you know, different teachers in the classroom every day. That doesn't work for students either.
Okay. All right. I see that we are getting some people are filtering in. So I just want to say, if you are watching this, we're going to have you muted for the time being. But if you have any questions, please write them in the chat function, and then we'll filter through as we go along. So another thing we have, this kind of leads into this, is there apparently the pandemic learning loss. You know, so students, you know, had a hard time over the last couple of years, and there's kind of lagging in some of the metrics. What would you do if elected to bring TUSD students back up to speed?
Well, we know that those hardest hit were those students in the lower socioeconomic schools. They had trouble with connectivity, internet access, and then access to laptops. Even though TUSD did a really good job with getting laptops out to students, they just didn't have access to internet. So many of those students, they were also dealing with things other than just their education. You know, their families were probably the ones that were working during the pandemic. Their families were getting sick. A lot of these, you know, high school students had to get jobs to support their families. So there's this whole host of things that were happening during the pandemic, not just school loss and learning loss. And with that being said, I do believe that we need to recognize the students that need the help the most. I think we need to set up ways that we can get tutoring into those schools where the students need it, whether it's 2 or 3 times a week, you know, 30 minutes a day, to help with those issues. Again, I think we need to work with our higher education partners in Pima County. We have the University of Arizona, we have Pima. I think we need to figure out ways to bring those education students to our classrooms. And then they can see how great it is to work with those kids. So it's kind of a win-win situation for us and for them. And we really want to make sure that we have these students on track to graduate, whether they want to go to, you know, to college or not. We want to make sure that they are prepared for leaving high school and for starting, you know, college or a job.
And one of the more tragic aspects of our lives right now are school shootings. You know, in the wake of Uvalde shooting, you know, that became a big topic. You know, if elected, what would you do to make sure that TUSD kids are safe when they're at school?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It breaks my heart each time that happens, and thoughts and prayers are not working. So we need to, at a higher level, make sure that we elect people who don't want guns in our schools and how they're going to fix that. But on a school board level, I think TUSD needs an across-the-board safety plan that everybody knows, and that parents and guardians that they know about. For example, on the first day of school at my daughter's school, new parents, kindergarten parents, were not able to send their kids to or walk up to the door with their kids to kindergarten. So they were very upset. School didn't really, you know, let them know until it was the last minute. Whereas other schools, they were letting parents in, and you know, having them take their children to their classroom door. So I really think communication with parents and guardians needs to be better through TUSD. We need to know what those school safety plans are, how they're implemented in every school, and how our children are kept safe. I don't believe SRO officers are the answer. They are not prepared to deal with our children and what their needs are. They're not trained for that. And you know, a lot of people say social workers, counselors. I agree. But if we're not paying the counselors and the social workers what they're worth or giving them the tools that they need, then we're setting them up for failure. So we really need to put um, uh, money where our mouth is, because everything else is just lip service. I think we need to utilize our community liaisons more. They're out there helping the families that need anything really. And I just don't know that they know what's readily available in our community. They can work with the Pima County One Stop or rental assistance. They can help, uh, guide these families to, maybe they need utility assistance. Do they know where to go? There's all kinds of things that we can do to better address those issues. And I think if we address the behavioral issues and maybe what's going on at home, that we won't have, such tragedy in TUSD. I think if we take a look at the student as a whole, that's really important. And maybe it's, they need access to food. Where do people get that? We just need to be proactive in dealing with those things.
Okay. So another thing that's kind of the times that we're living in are we are once again having school boards be a kind of center for controversy, whether that's critical race theory, book banning, wearing masks, during the pandemic. I want to get from you, like, if you're on the board, how would you deal with with parents who are very upset about any number of things? They show up in a meeting.
Yeah, I'm not new to criticism. I served as mayor and council member. I'm used to that. I think that all families and parents and community members need to be heard. And the best way to do that is to come to board meetings. With that being said, critical race theory is not taught in TUSD. I don't believe in banning books. If you don't want your child to have a book, then you tell them, return this to the librarian. That's a parent's choice. And as far as masks in school and that type of thing, I really think that TUSD was a leader in that aspect. During the pandemic, we just didn't know from one day to the next what was best for mitigations. And so they took the advice of the health department and they made those decisions. And quite frankly, they were the leader in the state. And, we may not always agree, but you will know where I'm coming from. I will tell you, what I think, and but I'm willing to hear out everybody. That's what I do. I work in collaboration with everybody.
And then standardized testing, right? That's been used for many years now, but it's still kind of controversial how it measures, whether a student is learning or not. What's your take on standardized testing?
I don't believe in standardized testing. A lot of our students are not great test takers, and we need to just put that out there. It's really a snapshot into a student and teacher's life at that one time. And that being said, the teachers do know what's best and how to teach their kids. They're with them every day. They understand the best ways that these children learn, and not everyone's the same. So we really need to think outside the box in how we're teaching our children. And standardized testing, it really doesn't, promote the best out of a child. We don't want our teachers teaching to test. We want to make sure that, teachers are teaching to the way that children learn. And so I think we need to just give our teachers that autonomy to do so.
And so, I mean, one of the uses of standardized testing is to see whether a school is, failing or succeeding. Do you have another measure that the public could look to see, how well a school is teaching?
Well, when TUSD wanted to close Ochoa School, that was something that I worked for South Tucson. We did not want Ochoa to be closed down in South Tucson. A lot of our families, they walk to school, they know the teachers, it's a community place to gather. So what I did learn during that time is that the gains from year to year, even from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, with kids reading and math, those small gains are what push those students forward. Those and they were small to significant gains in reading and math. And I think I don't like to put failing grades on schools, because our principals, our staff, and our teachers, they're doing the best that they can. And to put on a school where these kids are so proud to attend, they're there learning every day. It's just not the right thing to do.
Okay, all right. We have another big issue that's very recent here is the desegregation lawsuits. So I want to know, the way I understand it is the TUSD administrators are going to have a lot more power than they did before. What did, given that maybe power is not the best word, but discretion maybe, what would you like to see the TUSD Governing Board do in this kind of post-desegregation era?
I think we need to continue to improve upon the programming that got us out from under the court order. I fully support the academic, the music, the magnet programs that came out of this. And that's just to name a few. But I do think that we need to continue to do the work to acknowledge that there is an academic and achievement gap for those students in lower socioeconomic areas. We need to figure out how to bridge that gap. And we will have more money to help students, because we won't be spending millions of dollars on legal fees and top-heavy administration positions. We really need to see how we're going to reroute that money back into students. And I do know that a lot of the community is concerned that we're going to go backwards, but I feel that if it is such a concern, that we can, as a TUSD Governing Board, create an advisory board for the community so that they can address those concerns to our administrators. And we can come up with ways to be better and, and to make differences. I think that's what's most important. If the community wants to be involved, then they should be involved. And an advisory committee is the way to go. That way we can address their concerns and we can get that information back to them.
All right, and we had a question from a reader. I think it's clarification. This is regards to teachers and tutors. If we don't have enough teachers, how will you manage additional tutors?
That's why we need to work more with our higher education partners, such as the University of Arizona and Pima. We need to find other ways to get tutors into our schools. And whether that's utilizing the business community, we can do that too. There's a program where lawyers come to read to students. Maybe they want to tutor a couple days a week. We have people who want to volunteer. We really need to figure out a way to make volunteerism better in TUSD. If parents want to volunteer to tutor, then we need to figure that out.
Okay, all right. So we've gone over like the big issues that I have been asking people. Let me just make sure I haven't. Actually, I want to ask you this. Like you mentioned that, now the desegregation lawsuit's over, you potentially be saving a lot of money in legal fees. So that'll be some money that TUSD can use. Do you have another program aspect, anything that in the TUSD district that you think is superfluous that should be cut to save money?
I don't. I think that's going to take a lot of study of the budget, and really to make those meaningful decisions, we really need to sit down as a group and work together to figure that out. I just don't want to name off things and come off as, oh, we're going to get rid of this thing to save this amount of money. That's not how it works. We really have to have those meaningful discussions with, the other governing board members and administration to figure out if we need help and tutors, how are we going to pay those tutors, or, pay those tutors if we need to pay them? How are we going to pay those counselors? How are we going to pay those social workers? We really need to come up with what the goals are for the board And if those are the goals of most of the board, then we need to figure out how we're going to pay for that. But just to say, hey, I want to cut this program, I'm not willing to do that right now.
Okay, all right. And okay, I think that's what we got so far here. So would you, you know, we've covered a decent amount of ground here, but obviously we can't cover everything. Is there anything, right, you know, another important aspect of TUSD that we haven't asked about that you think that you would like to talk about?
No, I just would like to say that I think the TUSD has beautiful, wonderful schools in throughout the city. And really, as a parent, when my husband and I were looking for the best school for our daughter, we visited many schools to make sure that there was the right fit. So I would urge parents to do that. Visit and tour as many schools as you can. And I think another thing that we need to figure out is how to get art, PE, and music into all of those schools, because while there have been strides made, not every school has that. So we need to figure out how to make sure that all of our schools have that. I think that's very important. That's one of the things that my daughter loves about her school. She loves having art, and PE is like her favorite thing. So that makes her really happy. And I think that we need to have that across the board. But yeah, I would just urge parents to please tour the schools, figure out the best school for you and for your family.
Okay, all right. So, you know, we're about to wrap up. So if I don't know if you want to just finish it as we are, as where we stand, or if you would, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I would just like to say, you know, I've worked in this community my whole life. I've worked for government for over 27 years. I have the experience. I have the budget experience. I have the financial experience. I know how to collaborate with my community, and I'm here to do the best job that I can for everyone. So I'm really thankful for you having me here today to discuss what I think and how to move TUSD forward.
Okay. Let me do my little plug for our upcoming ones. Let's see here. I guess the only one I have in front of me right now is tomorrow at noon. We have Amy Bola, Amy Kraus, and Gina Memmer, who are running for the Catalina Foothills School District Governing Board. And I know that in the next week, we'll have a whole bunch more. So Jennifer Eckstrom, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and answer our questions. And thank you to the readers who are watching it now or will be watching it in the future. So with that, I want to say have a good day and thank you again to everybody.
Thank you.